Well, everyone, welcome back. And looks like we've already got some comments popping up here. Welcome back to another Canada Immigration Live Q&A. I'm on my own today, you guys. I have Alicia. We are swamped, absolutely swamped with some amazing corporate work that we're doing for business immigration firms. And as a business immigration firm, I should say, I got my mic here. I got my new Shure mic, which is awesome. So the audio should be even better today. I'm pretty excited about it. All right, so we are back with another Canada Immigration Live Q&A. I'm here with this character right here. We got Minister Fraser, who's our minister. He's going to be available as well, guys, to answer the questions that I know you're going to be asking me today, because I won't have the answer. It will only be him. So we'll keep him on standby, right, Minister Miller? We'll see what he has to say about all the questions I know you guys are going to ask me. I know. And what are they mostly going to relate about? Well, one of them is right here, right? The rounds of invitations, what is going on, why, once again, as we go back here to October the 10th, last week, why and no program specified draw, and why no CEC. So we'll leave that to Minister Fraser, but in the interim, let's start giving some amazing shout outs to all of the fine people that are tuning in here. Henry, good to see you as always, connecting in from Nigeria. Great to have you here with us. Thank you so much. We've got Sam, he says, I love the music. Hey, we got to mix it up. Why not, right? Let's mix it up. Let's see who else we've got here. And we've got some people posting questions, which is fantastic. Henry, bonjour, as well from Nigeria. Good to see you. And yes, when you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see who else we've got. Yeah, just go ahead and post your comments, post your questions. It takes a little bit of time sometimes for the feed to show up wherever you're watching it, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn. So please do give me a shout out. Let me know where you're tuning in from, because I love to see that as always. Now, there's lots that has been going on within immigration. And one of the first things that I want to let all of you guys know is, if you have a pending TR to PR pathway application and you know that there might have been something wrong with it, guys, you are going to start seeing either refusals or procedural fairness letters funneling out in massively large numbers. So anyone with a TR to PR pathway that's still pending is probably going to be getting a procedural fairness letter. They are trying to finalize the last of these because they are supposed to get these done by the end of 2023. Yesterday alone, I had not one, but two consultations with people. One had a procedural fairness letter because they did not have a language test ready when they filed, and they tried to do it after, which I told people they couldn't. And they tried to submit the test after they had filed, just to hold their spot before the cap was hit for, in many cases, essential workers, but sometimes for international graduates. And you can't succeed with that if you have not completed your language test way back then, and you haven't heard anything from them. Trust me, it is on the way. It is absolutely on the way. So those of you who are still sitting waiting for the TR to PR pathway application to be processed, more than likely you have an issue with it. And in two cases, I was able to save it and fix it and channel it through a different path. If that's you, don't hesitate to book a consult. You can always do that within our firm. We talk about this a lot. It's as simple as just sliding over and just going to our firm website, clicking on Speak to a Lawyer right here, and all the links are in the description below. So please go and check all of that out and book a consult if you're one of those TR to PR pathway folks. But what I'm going to pull up here and I'm going to show you guys, you can hear, I'll show you how I search for it. I like to share everything that I can with you guys. So there is levels plans. So if I go in here and I type in IRCC levels plans 2023, this should take us to where we want to go. So archived, let's see if we can find it. There we go. So this is the supplementary information for 2023 to 2025. This tells you exactly how many candidates they're hoping to land each year. And you can see the overall plan for admissions for this year is 465,000, okay? And within that, you can see the federal high skilled is 82,880. That what's included in that? Well, that's your CEC, your federal skilled trade, your federal skilled worker. But this is the one, the federal economic public policies. This right here, by and large, is the TR to PR pathway. So they have room for 2023 to bring in the last of the 25,000, but they do have an ability to bring in up to 32,000. But I'll be honest, the reason they have this range is because there's probably going to be 7,750 that are just going to get refused and rejected because people filed improperly and they did not meet all of the requirements of the TR to PR pathway when they submitted it. Now, if you take this, and I think we can move over here, look at for 2024, boom. So there's no allotment for these programs. So what that means is that they are going to be doing everything they can to get the TR to PR pathways finalized, and they only have till the end of the year to do it. So be aware, you guys, that if you're stuck in that situation and you haven't had a decision at this stage, it's probably because your application has been queued up. And I find it quite ironic that they're looking for ways to reject applications, and they waited until now, 2 years, 2021, over 2 years to refuse these. Just not good. But book a consult if you have any issues. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Who else is tuning in here? Elise, good to see you connecting from Congo, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Great to have you here. Abdullah, great to see you. Greetings to you from Iraq. Thanks for connecting in. And then we've got Ridwan, who's over in Ghana. We've got a pretty amazing African connection here. This is great. Hey, Joe, good to see you over in Ottawa. How are things going for you, my friend? We've got Nitesh. He says, hello, Mark and Alicia. And as I indicated, Alicia is actually away today. So she is, she has some urgent files for some clients, a corporate client, and we're trying to bring in a bunch of workers from the Middle East. And you know what's going on in the Middle East. It's a little bit crazy. And so we're trying to get these done before everything shuts down. But what a horrible situation. That's all I can say. What a horrible situation. And I just, sometimes I get so irritated by the mainstream media. Everything is a big splash, everything, and they contribute to making things worse. They literally do sometimes. And our desire to have the best and, the most up-to-date information, and all the newspapers are racing to be the first ones to publish these splashy headlines. We saw an example of this when, they were all parroting that, Israel had bombed the hospital, right? And in the race to get information out, they didn't fact check or wait properly to determine if what they were hearing was actually true. And that goes the same for us as immigration lawyers and consultants who are out there posting stuff online. Maybe CIC News posts something. Generally, they get things pretty right. But let's say someone posts something and it's not true, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon and starts parroting it, then what happens, right? Then you've got this information that's just not true, and it should have been properly vetted. And that's sometimes what I see with the mainstream media. And we contribute to it, you guys. We contribute. So yeah, it's quite a mess over there. And my heart goes out to all parties involved in this insanity, all of the innocents especially. All right, let's see what else we have here. We've got Rio from Indonesia. Great to see you, Rio. Thanks for connecting in. And what is this? Joe says, first of all, we have news. Our PR application was accepted. Sitting in the portal too, waiting for cards to be sent. That is so awesome. I am so excited. And you know what that means, right? Here it comes. Big round of applause, Joe. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Okay. Henry says, I think there will be no stem draw. I don't know what to think anymore, you guys. Once again, if we're in this situation, what do? Well, we bring in the minister. And what does the minister do? Well, I'll be honest, I don't know what he does because I haven't seen anything meaningful being done by Minister Miller at this stage to correct and rectify all of the craziness that's going on. I don't know. We'll pull Minister Miller in here and we'll ask him, what about the stem draws, Minister? Are we doing any stem draws? Let's flip back here to our screen share. And let's go over to the rounds of invitations. And as we look here at the previous rounds, I love looking at these and trying to prognosticate. So we'll just pull Minister Miller off for a little bit here. But if you look, you guys, at historically, every consultative meeting I was in, there was an indication that STEM was going to be a priority. But if you go through here, the only STEM we've seen was way, way back on July the 5th, and they only did 500, like a token STEM, right? And so I don't know what the issue is. They've hit on every particular area. So yes, indeed they have. After they did the ag on September the 28th, are they going to stop? Who knows? Who knows? I absolutely don't know. And I'll be honest, I honestly think Minister Miller doesn't even know what's going to happen. So we'll just have to wait and see. But when it happens, we'll be one of the first to announce the news after we properly vetted things, right? So there we go. Okay. All right. Thanks for your comment, Henry. All right. Let's see who else we've got here in the house. Talis. Hey, Talis, how are you, my friend? I'm so excited to get your application filed. He says, yes, speak with lawyer, especially Mark. Thank you so much. I appreciate that shout out, Talis. I love it when clients come on and give shout outs. Great to have you joining. How's the weather today, Mark? Moise, it was actually raining. We've got a lot of rain here lately. Usually that's a precursor to what's coming next, which is snow. But that's okay, because as the weather starts to get colder, then the ice starts to freeze over, and then I do more ice fishing. I'm actually doing a little bit of hunting right now, and we got a nice big elk just 3 weeks ago. I guess it was 3 weeks ago with my brothers up in northern Alberta. And so I have lots of nice elk meat in our freezer, and that happens in the fall. And when the snow starts to fly, then ski season starts. And my kids love to ski. So there's lots of positives that come. But when the ice freezes over, ice fishing, oh, I love doing that. And do you know what the funnest part is? When you lower this camera down. So you've got a camera right down on the bottom, near the bottom of the floor of the lake. And you can see the fish swimming up to take whatever you're giving him, whatever bait. I love doing that. It's like a video game. It's so fun. You're like jigging the little bait hook. Oh, and yesterday I took with our church group, I run activities for the little 8 to 11-year-old boys in our congregation, and we went fishing yesterday. And to a little community stock pond here in Lethbridge, the Riverstone Pond, and oh my goodness, it was so fun. Oh, these little kids. One of the boys, he caught, he had something on his line, and he's like, "Oh, I caught something," and he reeled it up, and it was a rod. Someone had dropped their rod in the bottom, like right below where the dock area was. And he pulled up a rod, and it was actually still in really good shape. It had been dropped that year for sure. And then another boy got something hooked, and we struggled a little bit catching anything. But right at the end, I had a little technique that I used, and I managed to pull a little rainbow out. And that was so much fun. I just absolutely love doing that with those kids. They just bring such joy to me. And now all of my children are, my youngest actually graduated. And she's up in Edmonton going to school at NAIT. She wants to be a veterinarian eventually. And so she's been working through that. And now she's completing her vet assistant program just to get a taste of veterinary science. And then we'll see where things go for her. But anyways, so that's what's happening with the Holthe clan. So the weather today was a little bit cooler. I'm hoping it's going to warm up. But as I look right now on my phone, let's see what we've got for weather. In the fine metropolis of Lethbridge, we have, if you guys can see it, I've got so much light going on here. Oh, it's actually kind of tricky to see. Oh, you got to tip it way back because of my light, but 13 degrees. There you go. You can see 13 degrees with wind. Indeed. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Wagner, hey, Montedo, hey, good to see you. Good to connect with you, my friend. Let's see what else here. We're going to get to all the questions. I'll zip through them. I just want to give shout outs to the people that are taking the time. Oh, Sam says, ice fishing is awesome. Caught a pickerel on my first time on Lake Winnipeg. So cool, Sam. That's so cool. Camby says, hey, Mark, why don't you join politics and become immigration minister and shower the ITAs to everyone? Haha, just kidding. You know what? Yeah, that's something that's never going to happen. I'm never going to get into politics. I'm far too conservative in my values and beliefs to ever be a politician in Canada. I'm Christian. I go to church. I believe there's a God in heaven, and that is not conducive to whatever the populist view it is in Canada these days. At least that's how it seems to me. And the reality is, if I had beliefs that were based on my faith, I would probably be canceled. I don't know. So, so I love doing what I can to help people with their immigration, and just loving and supporting my family, my wife, my children, and serving in my church, and being a good neighbor, and volunteering with the various local immigration partnership, the community organizations, and just giving back. That's how I do what I can do. So there you go. But thanks, Camby. Yeah, that is quite funny, right? Okay, we've got Rohit, who's over in Chennai. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for connecting in. And Argentech says, share the elk. Good morning. Sharing is caring. Go, Pierre, go. All right. Well, there's definitely lots of views on the world. And yeah, it's all good. Thanks for sharing that. And Camby says, God bless you. Thanks so much. All right. And Adesola, good to see you. Adetola, Adesola. I love that. That's great. Good to see you. Okay, guys. So as far as what's going on in the world of immigration, as I've indicated, we're getting close to the end of the year. The TR to PR pathways, we're starting to see refusals, but we're also starting to see a lot of refusals across the board. And I don't think I've ever had so many consultations with people who've had applications rejected as I have over the last stretch. And what's happening is they're just realizing that there are far, far too many people in Canada on temporary status, work status, that they just don't have pathways to permanent residence. So they don't have to go over, and just accept everybody who submits an application. They're now taking the position that, well, too bad. If you don't meet the perfect application requirements, then we're going to reject your application and you're going to have to go home. And that's what we want you to do. And no, I shouldn't say that that's what we want you to do, but I can tell you, Minister Miller here, his fellow compadre, this character right here, if I can pull him up. Let's see if we've got him. Where is he? He's hiding. I think I got, he's over here. Sorry. This guy right here. So we'll keep Minister Fraser right here. So Minister Fraser, this guy, he's smaller because he's the old one. So, but Minister Fraser, extolled the virtues of international students for the whole time that he was the Minister of Immigration. Didn't you, Minister Fraser? You did. But now I can tell you, I haven't heard anything except Minister Fraser now saying, well, maybe we might have too many international students, right? Like, I don't know, how many do we have right now? 900,000 in Canada at any given time? I don't know what the exact figures are, but it's an astronomically high number, and there's only so many spots. And we looked at this, you guys, right? There's only so many spots for people to come, and we'll just drop you minister and former minister off, but you can see there's only so many spots. And yes, next year it's going to go up a little bit more, 485 for 2024. So the people who are receiving ITAs now are really going to be in the 2024 group, okay? Because you're not going to get an ITA, submit an application, and land this year. Well, it'd be pretty tough. I guess it's theoretically possible. But most of you are going to be a part of this 485. And for the high skill, it does take a little bit of a jump from 82 to 109. And they could potentially go as high as 115 next year. And then the following year, as we look at this, you can see 114,000 for 2025, up to 121,000 at a high. They could go as low as 93, but it's unlikely that that's going to happen. It's usually going to be right around this or higher. So that's kind of the projections for the immigration levels plans for each of these areas. And that's really what you're watching. So you guys don't look at the 465,000 or the 485,000. You that are economic immigrants or hopefuls, you are really here, federal high skilled at this level, or as we scroll down, you'll see as well, there are large numbers of provincial nominees. So those are where the bulk of these applicants are going to be coming through. Yes, Atlantic Immigration Program has a few. Yes, the other agri-food, and we've got a client that is going through that process, a couple of them, that's 8,500. Federal business, federal economic, these, like I said, are going to come to an end. So those are how the breakdown is essentially. And then, they're looking at 266,000 total. 233 is is the low, with 277 being the high for this year for the economic stuff. So watch that. And yeah, just be aware that as we're talking about all of these other numbers coming through and how many are actually in Canada, it's there just is not going to be room for everyone to transition. So, all right, let's jump in and let's start answering some questions. Remember, as always, if your question is super specific, I am going to ring this little triangle there, which means slide over and book a consultation, because your question is really seeking legal advice. And I need way more information than you can ever put into a little message on YouTube to give me the context to give you proper legal advice. And the danger of trying to answer when you don't have the full picture is astronomically scary. And the last thing I'd want to do is say, hey, do this, when in reality, I don't have the full picture, and then that advice might be wrong. So information, programs, policies, generally speaking, I'm happy to do that. And those are the ones I'm going to focus on. But if I skip your question or it's just too specific, please understand that really you need to book a consult, and then we can sort that out. Okay. All right. So Jorawar says, after 3 years of a bachelor's in hospitality, I did 3-year LLB assessed by ICAS as 1-year first professional university degree. Saskatchewan PNP will consider it as master's or bachelor's points. I don't know. Jorawar, I don't know. I need to actually look at the ICAS report and do a little research. I've never had that situation. Usually it'll say a law as being the actual professional degree. It'll say law. ICAS is different than West. Did you have West do that? So yeah. Anyways, all right. Let's slide down here. We'll go to the next question. Okay, Varen says, hey, Mark and Alicia, I renewed my passport after I got my police certificate, but PCC is having the old passport number. Do I need to apply again for the PCC so that I will get it with the new passport number? No, you do not. No, you don't. If you want to, in whatever application you're submitting, if it's express entry or otherwise, you might want to just alert the officer to it and provide a letter of explanation. And if you wanted to include a copy of the old passport, you could do that out of an abundance of caution. But no, it's not going to be an issue. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Elise says, hey, Mark, when landing in Toronto and connecting to Ottawa, the immigration registration will be done in Toronto or Ottawa. It's the first place that you come in where you'll do the landing. So if you fly into Toronto and then you have a connection to Ottawa, the port of entry, Toronto, will do the landing. Okay, let's see. Vaibhav says, I'm an Indian citizen with a master's degree from the US and have 10 plus years of experience in IT. How can I get PR to Canada? How much time it will take as maximum? That is a great question. And this is an exact one where I hit the triangle and then I slide right over here to our firm website and I say, click on the link below in the description of the video and speak to a lawyer. It's really easy. All you have to do is click on the link and then you can choose the lawyer and you can pick the time and we can set up a consult where we can actually break down all the possibilities. Oh, for whatever reason, I'm just looking at this and it looks like, why is this not showing up here? Oh, there it is. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't showing up. Maybe it's when I flip back and forth. Is that the problem here? Flip there and then flip back. Oh, it's still there. Okay. So I want to make sure that I'm getting this up on the screen. So yes, Indian citizen with a master's degree from the US. So book a consult, Vaibhav, and then we can go through and we can talk about the possibilities and I can actually learn more about you. Okay. All right. Saeed, it's good to see you. Ridwan from Ghana. I've got some really good friends who are in Accra right now serving a mission for our church. The Whites, just a great couple. Corey and I would go riding deep into the mountains on our horses, fishing in the high alpine lakes, just wonderful stuff. So positive, it's positive memories of that. And they're going to be coming home pretty soon. They've been there for, I think they've almost been there a year in Ghana. So Saeed, very cool. So if you see a couple in their, I think Corey and Meryl are probably in their 60s, with little black name tags that says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, definitely go say hello. So awesome. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Nitesh says, hey, Mark and Alicia, good morning, connecting to you from Toronto. Welcome, Nitesh. Okay, let's beat the broken drum. So beating the broken drum here, STEM, when are we to expect? Yes, when we are expecting. Last, no program draw on Tuesday, no hearing on STEM at all. Your thoughts? I'm losing my hopes on current minister. Fair enough. And so just, when you're thinking about all of this stuff that's going on right now, I get it. I totally get it. It's unbelievably frustrating just knowing that, they've held out, at least at some point in time, that there's going to be STEM draws. And minister, we'll move you back over here. What's the scoop? What's your plan? Like, what about all these people? As a Canadian Bar Association, I was involved in submissions, I think last year or maybe the year before, on a proposal for some programs that could be created to target specifically all the international students that are here in Canada with, right now, 2 years of experience. So yeah, what's the plan, minister? I guess we'll see. Okay, let's see what else here. All right, Simran says, I'm eligible for CEC and PNP, but I got invitation under PNP. Will the processing time be more than CEC? Each provincial nominee program has streams that are linked to Express Entry and streams that are not, that go through the regular process. The regular process can often take a whole lot longer than going through CEC. And so the easy way to see how it works is each province has their own, they have their own their own streams as well as Express Entry. So if we go here to the processing times, and let's just pull it up and we'll take a look. So if you have a PNP nomination and it's through one of the Express Entry streams, if we go economic immigration, and then even with a PNP, you're going to be, generally speaking, you can see here provincial nominees, you select it. If you are online via Express Entry, if it's connected with Express Entry, then you can see the processing times are about 8 months. If it's not, and it's through the regular streams, then the processing time is double. So clearly when you're going through those processes, you'll see what is going on here. It looks like I've got a duplication of stuff here. Let's go back in here and let's move Simran. I must have copied it by accident. We've got so many things going on here. So yes, if you are eligible for CEC and PNP, well, the CEC, I understand, is probably there might be streams under the various PNPs where you must meet the eligibility in order to get through Express Entry. And so you have CEC, and most of you that are already in Canada are meeting CEC. But he says, I've got the invitation out to the PNP. Will the processing time be more than CEC? I think what you mean, if it's non-Express Entry stream, yes, it definitely will be. All right. Let's see here. Henry says, I think there'll be no STEM draw. I think you're right. But who knows? We'll just keep monitoring it and see what comes up. I don't know if there's actually going to be any rounds of invitations today. We just don't know. If I go in and I refresh the page here and see if there's been any changes, as I refresh it and go down and look, I am not seeing anything. Do you remember before? The other day I was refreshing it, and I think it was a couple weeks back, and they did a round of invitations literally as I was in the midst of showing you guys. So, all right, let's see what else we've got here. All right, same thing, Hanan. Okay, I'm from Pakistan. Please inform if there is any other way to apply for business visa other than online submission, getting an appointment from embassy and submitting the documents personally. That's the route, my friend. That's the route. Saeed says, can a person suffering from hepatitis B get Canadian visa? I had a scholarship and don't know either I should apply for visa or not because of my condition, which is hepatitis B. So it just depends, right? It depends. Some communicable diseases, that can make you inadmissible to Canada if you come to Canada and could spread a disease. Like I remember when I was playing volleyball at the Lethbridge College here in Lethbridge, and I was playing on the men's team, and we traveled all around Alberta. At some point, somewhere, I end up catching hepatitis A, which is more of a foodborne kind of thing. And I don't know if it was the balls bouncing around, if it was sharing water bottles, but I ended up getting hepatitis A somewhere, and it made me quite sick. and I was fairly contagious, and so I stayed home. And so when it comes to some of these medical conditions, they look at two factors with medical inadmissibility. Is your condition going to cause a drain on Canadian health or social services? They call it excessive demand. Or is it something that could be communicable? Where the danger to Canadian health or services, Canadian health, I should say, is because of the ability to transmit. So I don't know enough about hepatitis B to know one way or another, but I wouldn't let it stop you from applying, right? If immigration medicals are required and you're going to disclose it, then just let it play out the way it plays out. All right. Let's see what is next here. Okay, Joe says, if you travel while the PR card is in the mail, do you need to cross by a land border to use eCOPR? Well, essentially, if you're into the US, Joe, and you're then coming back into Canada, technically you can cross with your eCOPR without the need for a permanent resident card. But I always encourage people not to travel until they actually have them. Marco says, hey, what's going on with the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program? Well, the reality is I don't know. These PNPs sometimes go cold, and often they do at this time of year. If they've already extended sufficient invitations to meet their quota that the government has given them, then often that's why it slows down. So that's probably the case, Marco. All right, let's see here. Moise says, do you anticipate any more category-based draws before this year? It's a good question. They've definitely seen, there's a willingness to do French. Absolutely there is. And if there was one factor that people have control over and they're looking to immigrate to Canada and they don't seem like they have enough human capital, their CRS score isn't high enough, the one piece of advice I always give now is learn French. It's just a reality. Okay. All right. Rafik says, hey, got my PR by express entry FSW. Going with the soft landing in December, can I land and stay in Montreal for a few days, then take the train to Burlington, Ontario, and apply for SIN number there? Rafik, it's possible to complete a landing in Quebec when you are moving on to another place, and you can show that you've got a transfer or you've got a connection to another province. Then you can do that. But I would be very, very careful with an officer questioning whether or not you truly intend to reside outside the province of Quebec. And so I never advise my clients even to book initial flights flying through Montreal. I always encourage them to go to Toronto first, especially if Burlington is your final destination. When it comes to landing, I do not take any chances. So yeah, and remember with express entry, you must demonstrate an intention to reside outside the province of Quebec. Okay. Shinda says, hey, Mark, if I can invite my husband to visit me in Canada while the sponsorship is in process, well, you can make the request, and immigration has told the officers to be kind and not just reject because there's a sponsorship in the queue, but it really depends on a country. It really depends. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, Ahmed says, will IRCC accept an MCC ECA report with no physician work experience and teaching assistant as primary occupation? Education is education. Okay, people often confuse this. If MCC equates your foreign medical, if you're a foreign medical graduate, if they equate your degree and credentials to equivalent to a Canadian, basically medical degree, then you can use it. It's as simple as that. Okay, let's see here. Camby says, I got a West evaluation 2015-2016 diploma as a 1-year equivalent diploma plus 3 years bachelor distance ed. Can I claim my paid training period, which was part of my education as work experience? If you were paid, if it's outside of Canada, you can claim work experience if it meets all the other requirements. You were working either part-time or full-time, that it was paid, that it was skilled, and it was at, it was continuous. If you're looking for eligibility to the Federal Skilled Worker Program, remember, comprehensive ranking system doesn't get fussed over continuous. The continuous nature of work history is linked to eligibility under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So some people just get confused, Camby, because they think that, because the rules are such that you can't claim work experience in Canada that you obtained while you were a full-time student. for the purposes of the Canadian Experience class, they say that you also can't claim that for the purposes of the Federal Skilled Worker Program. They just assume it, but it's not the case. If you studied and you worked outside of Canada, you can still count that work experience as long as it meets all the other requirements. And some people are wondering, okay, well, what does that mean? And some of you are super smart and you've been involved with this for a long time. And I'm just going to pull up the eligibility for the Federal Skilled Worker Program just so that I can clarify this for a few people. And I used to do this a lot more, but people have become far more educated over the last few years that I really don't need to go as much into the basics. But if you go eligibility for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the minimum requirements, you can see, yes, you need to have work, language, education. And when you go through here, it has to be skilled work, tier 3 or higher. And then as you go through here, it has to be at least 1 year of continuous work. Now, that's the minimum threshold of 1,560 hours within the last 10 years, as well as it has to be paid, right? And you can see unpaid internships don't count, but paid is fine. And then as you scroll through here, you'll see that part-time work is possible as well. And then you can see here's your answer, which they didn't always have it here. Student work experience gained while you were studying may count towards your minimum requirements if the work was paid by wages or commission, was continuous, and meets all of the requirements. So that's really what it comes down to. Okay, let's zip back here and let's get to our next question. Okay. Let's see. Ali says, hey, my PR case medical results empty on GC Key account. What does it mean? It means that the GC Key account is freaking useless. And half of the time, maybe over half of the time, it doesn't properly reflect what's really happening on your file. So don't give it a moment's notice. Really don't. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Talis says, how long can it take RC to ask for our biometrics? That's a good question. It just depends. Usually it's fairly quick, but understand sometimes in some places, if there's high volumes of applications, it can take a little longer for those instructions to be kicked out. Okay, Arjun, good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Sam Reddy down in Texas. Howdy to you, partner. All right, Ali says, my PR case medical result is empty. Yep, so we answered that one. Alex, good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Let's see here. Rohit says, will there be any program to provide open work permits to employees laid off on closed work permits in Canada? I wish there was, Rohit. And the reality is they opened up 10,000 spots for H-1B holders, right? And who opened those spots up? It was this minister here, Minister Fraser. While at the same time, people are being laid off on employer-specific work permits with the inability to work. So it would be great if Minister Miller here announced some kind of a program. But the reality is, it's hard to just single out one particular group of people, whether it's STEM or otherwise. But I get it. It's not easy when you're laid off and you're on a closed work permit because you can't work for any other employer unless someone else, that other employer, goes through the process of getting an employer-specific work permit. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Jonathan Grace says, at this point in time, it is not a secret that Indians are in an astronomical number in the immigration system. Are the targeted draws a measure to balance the numbers from India? I don't think so, because ultimately Indians are still within the targeted draws. So that's not the case. The reason they're doing targeted draws is to try to get more candidates that are actually in areas of skill shortage in Canada versus piling more people in that have all the same types of work experience and are just oversaturating areas where there are, not as many jobs, I guess, is the best way of describing it. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Snagaz, Snags says, do you know how long after responding to Portal 1 email does Portal 2 come? Once again, I don't have any direct figures. It usually comes fairly quickly. Okay. Alex says, I have a job offer from a province in Canada and I currently reside in Canada. Okay. Is that a normal job offer that I can use in my Express Entry profile, or does it have to be an LMIA job offer? The job offer, if you're on an open work permit, is not a job offer for the purposes of Express Entry. Express Entry requires that your job offer be supported by an LMIA, or you're working on an employer-specific work permit that names the employer you're actually working for. And lots of post-grad, individuals and others on open work permits are really confused about that when they have an employer who says, yeah, I'll give you a job offer. Well, if it's not supported by an LMIA and the work permit that you have is open, then it doesn't count as a job offer for the purposes of express entry, getting those extra 50 or 200 points. Okay. Shresti says, hey, I'm a PR residing in Toronto and I'll be applying for citizenship shortly. Can I travel outside of Canada once I submit my online application, or is it risky? All right. So the reality is anytime you leave, okay, and when the file that is being processed, the application that's being processed, indicates that you need to be resident in the country for it to be approved, then when you leave, the only risk that you really have is that something happens and you can't get back in. And if you can't get back in, then that can jeopardize the application. It's kind of like an in-Canada spousal sponsorship. There's nothing stopping you from leaving and re-entering, but if for whatever reason you can't get back in, then they'll refuse it if you're not in Canada at the time in which they, finalize the application. So technically, Shresti, it may be possible, but I would never advise you to, anyone to do anything without actually having them book a consult. So can I travel outside Canada? That's not something that I can tell you. It may be possible, but I would never advise you to do that unless you booked a consult and we actually talked about all the ramifications and the risks and your whole history. Okay. All right. Okay. Chang says, do you offer job positions in Yukon? I don't do any job placement. We assist employers when they have an employee that they want to hire from abroad. We assist employees when they found an employer who wishes to support them in getting a work permit or something, but we don't do the matching process. Yeah, Paul says, hey, Mark, any changes to PR application wait time via EECC? Not that I'm aware of. Okay, Arjun says, hey, Mark, I had got paid in my old company, not in a timely manner. If I have a salary certificate from employer, but I don't have individual pay stubs, will that be an issue when applying for PR? It could be. It could be an issue, Arjun. And this is something that I talk about a lot in my DIY courses. And I think I just want to share a couple things with you. One is that the Canadian Immigration Podcast, Alicia and I cover a ton of information on this. I strongly encourage you to go check it out. We're going to have 2 more episodes that are going to drop this week that are now transitioning away from the foreign worker program to the international mobility program. These are all of these LMI exempt work permits. I would definitely go check that out. But if we go back to our firm site, when it comes to, actually, let me go back here. What I was going to show you on the, if you look here, you can go to immigration courses, and the express entry course is alive and kicking. And I'm going to be doing a masterclass shortly here. We need to update this, but the express entry course here is available for you to subscribe to even right now and benefit from all the lessons, and then come join me on a masterclass. So remember, guys, the links are in the description below. And these are designed to give you all the tools and resources you need to be successful. Now, when it comes to the whole issue of pay slips, the government says if they're available. And, it just depends on whether or not they can verify your employment, that they can see that your company is a reputable company that has an actual presence online. If a company is hard to be discovered by an IRCC officer, it's hard to figure out where the company is or to see any public facing evidence that they exist, and that can be a challenge. As far as not paying you in a timely manner, if they didn't pay you at all, that can be a problem. It can be a problem. You can't claim the work experience if it wasn't paid. But as far as individual pay stubs, it may not be absolutely mandatory, but you're going to do what you can to try to make sure that that you've complied as closely as possible with what they've requested. Sometimes you do need to have a salary certificate or something showing the pay, and if it comes from the employer, then that's good as well. So it may be fine, Arjun. Once again, with these types of things, unless I can actually look at what you have for a salary certificate, I don't really know what you mean by that per se. And as far as the pay stubs, and not being paid in a timely fashion, all of those are little nuanced things that can affect the actual advice. So it may be possible, Arjun, but it's also possible that IRCC and officer may not accept it. Okay, let's see what's next. Moy says, what categories are you anticipating for 2024? Well, they said that these particular categories will be here for a year, right? And so does that mean until middle of next year, or does it mean just for 2023? We really don't know for certain. This is the new world with the targeted draws, so we'll just have to see how it plays out. But I expect that STEM should be on that list. Obviously, French absolutely will, and a lot of these areas, they're on the list for a reason. So the question will be next year, will they create new categories? Will they keep the existing ones? What will they do? We're just not sure. Okay, let's see. It looks like we've got a couple supers here, so let's see if we can get to those. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Alucin says, CEC inland child's passport expired yesterday. IRCC sent a request letter to send new passport and says app could be refused if not sent within 30 days. Okay. I called IRCC and the agent says all the stages are completed and just waiting for final decision. My embassy in Canada says passport printing will take 60 days. Okay. What happens if I just send an LOE, the passport renewal slip, then I got from my embassy, can IRCC wait even after the 30-day deadline? Can they take a position, positive decision even without submitting the renewed passport? Okay, so yes, you've done what I would recommend that you do. Notify them, request an extension, provide evidence that you've requested the new passport, ask them to hold it. Can they hold it? Yes, they have the ability to do that, and often they will. The challenge sometimes is whether or not the web form response or what you provide to them will come back, will get connected to the file fast enough. If you're going to upload it into the spot where the passport request was made, where to upload the new passport, you just have to be really, really careful that you're making it very, very clear and you're providing evidence that you've made that request. So they do have the ability to do it. No, they won't complete landing unless they have the passport. So there you go. All right, let's see what else we have here for supers. Okay. Oh, let's see here. Okay, well, I've got this one, 148 Motorsport. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. I am not quite sure if you had a question with that. And let's see what else we have here. I'm just looking. Oh, here, let me go back. I think now I know why. Okay, let's go to one, and then I'll go to the sport. What are the pros and cons of applying to CEC without including the spouse in the application in order to get more points in the express entry profile and after apply for a sponsorship for my wife? Well, the pros are that you may never get an invitation to apply if you have to include your spouse and be potentially 30 points or even up to 40 points lower. So the advantage of doing that is that you may get an ITA where you never would before. But I would never ever do that if the spouse is with you in Canada. You could be found to have misrepresented yourself if you say your spouse is non-accompanying and your spouse is already with you. The cons of doing that are the length of time. So if you otherwise could have got an ITA with your spouse, you're always going to do it. You're going to go forward with your spouse if there's a chance you can get your ITA. But if you don't, then the cons are you could be separated for a long period of time, because as a permanent resident, when you become a permanent resident, you cannot sponsor a spouse while you're living outside Canada. So you actually need to come, leave your spouse, be here in Canada, get a job, get settled, demonstrate that you can support your spouse, and then you file the spousal sponsorship. And, you can be separated depending on the country for quite a while. All right. Okay, let's see who's next here. We'll go back to the motorsport here. I think I should be able to pull it up here. Okay, here we go. All right. Hey, Mark, when I got my work visa, they issued me 12 months, but my LMIA is for 3 years. How can I get this changed? Unfortunately, I didn't check it before I felt being so tired. I think you must have been tired when you came in. When you can actually request an extension to capture the full 3 years on the LMIA. So if you want to book a consult, I can help you and show you how to do that, but you can apply for an extension of your work permit to request the full time. You can do that. Let's see who else is next. Eunice. Let's get to Eunice as of the other super chat. Eunice says, can I request an LMIA from my employer as a post-grad holder, which is still valid and currently work full-time at my workplace? Just boost my CRS score for express entry. Yes, you can. You can. Short answer is you can. If you have specific questions about it or what it needs to look like or how to do it, once again, don't hesitate to book a consult, Eunice. But that is, yes, it is 100% possible. All right, we've got just 3 minutes left. Let's see. We'll just hit a couple more last minute questions, and then we're going to wrap this up. I covered a lot of ground, so that was good. Okay, yes, Argent Tech here says, what are your thoughts about the Israel situation? Clients are concerned about more processing delays. Absolutely, it will. It's going to cause delays across the board. We have clients that are, I've got clients that are in Iran. I have clients that are in Lebanon, Iraq, and so I don't currently have any clients in Israel, but the reality is it will absolutely cause delays. It will. There's no doubt about it, and that's some of the challenges that we are battling right now. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Adisola says, my profile says counterfoil generated. Please, what does that mean and what are the next steps? Well, you should expect to get a passport request, or if you've already sent, obviously if you've sent your passport in, then usually that means that they've, they're in the process of adding that counterfoil, that visa to your passport. That's usually what it means. But I'd need to understand, I don't know which type of application you've submitted or anything like that. Okay. Travel with Camby says, I am an Indian resident. My girlfriend is a Canadian citizen. We are already in distant relationship for the past 6 years. Freeze of spouse, open work permit. Where should I marry? India or Canada? Well, understand the only place that you can get and apply for the open work permit for a spouse, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're sponsoring them, is through the In Canada process. So they have to be in Canada. If they're not, then you have to go through the family class. And that family class doesn't support the issuance of open work permits while the spousal sponsorship is being processed. Okay. All right. Let's see what is next. Jonathan Gray, balls bouncing around. That cracks me up. Oh, good. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Nicola, it's good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Writer K says, oh, a new office background. Congratulations. Yeah, sometimes I come down to my little office here downtown in Lethbridge, and sometimes I record from here. And I tend to be doing that more often now, although I can record from my office at the house as well. Okay, last questions. Let's see here. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I don't see anything else. Let's see here. Okay, I'll just hit on Labib here. So this happens because people get their applications rejected. Ghazi says, what is the chances of getting a visa in the third attempt? Well, it's possible. We have gotten visas for clients who had 4 or 5 even prior refusals. And it just depends on what the circumstances were of the initial refusals, why they happened, and whether there's additional information or new evidence or a new way of approaching the application that could have resulted in a positive approval. So I recommend you book a consult. Okay. All right. I think we have covered everything now, you guys. We'll wrap it up right there. I don't think I have any more supers that I need to hit on, and the time is far spent. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Special thanks to Minister Miller for standing there and smiling. He didn't really answer any questions, but he hasn't really answered questions anyways. So I guess there's no difference between him coming and joining me as just an image or actually coming and joining me in person, which the invitation is open. Because I would love, Minister Miller, to hear what your strategy is for all of these international graduates who are on open work permits, who are languishing with no opportunities for permanent residence because you only do no program specified draws instead of CEC. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will be back next week, same time, same place. And remember that on our website, we have tons of blog posts. We have tons of content, all designed to help you guys get your questions answered. So if you have a question, you're not certain, definitely go check out our blog. And in here, we have just a ton of posts and articles that are always up to date on what's happening with Canadian immigration. Make sure as well, you can subscribe to our Canadian immigration newsletter. You can get notifications when that comes out. And of course, like I indicated before, the Canadian Immigration Podcast. Go check back. We've got We're on we're recording episode 123 this week. 121, 122 are in the books and are going to be released here this week. So make sure that you check those out. And there's just a ton of content as well on our YouTube channel as well. If you come here, you can easily search, and we have 834 videos. It's crazy that we've done that many. So go check that out. All right, guys, thanks for joining. It was an awesome live Q&A today. And if you have not yet, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel in the various locations to get notified when we go live. All right, thanks so much. Take care, everybody.